Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be a hearing aid update. Now I appreciate this kind of video isn't for everybody, so I will have like extra videos going up, but I wanted to keep updating on my journey because I thought it was important, and quite a few of you have commented on my last update and thanked me for doing it and said they're gonna like share it with family members and things like that, and that really made me realise that, well, I feel like I've made a good decision in sharing all of this. And I have my hearing aids in at the moment, and I wanted to talk about like what it was like getting them and how it's been. I've only had them for about 24 hours or so, maybe just a little bit over, so that is where I'm at the moment. So first of all, I thought I would start by showing you what they look like, and I purposefully put my hair up for this video so you can see. Now if you're looking at me at the moment, I don't know if you can tell if I'm wearing them or not. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below, because I have got the viewfinder up but I can't really see that clearly because the screen's quite small. But I'm going to take one out to show you. Ta-da! So this is what my hearing aid looks like, and this bit here is the aid itself, and it has the battery inside of there, and then this little bit here goes inside your ear, and this little string is basically, you just kind of tuck that in the bottom of your ear, and it's just to help you sort of pull it in and out. And they are relatively easy to fit, and as you can see, in comparison to like my fingernails for example, they are quite small, so fitting them back in isn't too problematic. And I just put it over the back of my ear, stick the little bud down my ear canal and tuck that in, and then it's back in. And I do notice when I've got them in, I really do, but like in terms of like how comfortable they feel, to be honest, sometimes I can even forget that they're in there, at least from a physical sort of sensation sense. However, like I have noticed that like sometimes my ears tickle a little bit and I really want to put my finger in and tickle them, and I'm like, oh no, I can't. But I'm sure that'll be something that comes with time. I guess like when you wear glasses for the first time, you do sort of fiddle around with them and get used to wearing them, and you know, maybe it'll irritate your nose at first, that sort of thing. But I'm sure it will get better. So I'm going to start by what happened with my appointment. So I went back to the big health hub where adult audiology is now based in my nearest town, and that is where I went for my proper test. And so it was relatively straightforward in that sense. It was nowhere new or scary, and it was absolutely fine. And I had been told that I might have a repeat hearing test just to double check the levels. But I had a different audiologist that time, and he said that I was like right within the, you know, the bracket for mild to moderate hearing loss anyway. So he said even it would have to be like a dramatic change, which is very unlikely to happen even if I'd had like a really bad cold the time before. So he felt confident that everything would be fine, and the hearing aids that had been chosen for me would be the right ones for me. And I obviously have my hearing aids on the NHS, and I personally did not have to pay anything. As far as I know, the hearing aids on the NHS are free. Interestingly enough, the audiologist that I had actually used to deal and sell hearing aids privately, and he said that your average pair can set you back £3,000 if you got them privately, and the main difference being that they are slightly smaller and they come in a range of colours. So for example, if you have dark hair, you could have different colours if you wanted them. As it is, I would have gone for skin colour anyway because they are on my ear, not my hair, so logically that's fine for me. So what happened, he got out the hearing aids, he ran through the care of them and like how to use them and things like that. I had probably a shorter run through than most because I've had hearing aids before when I was younger, and yes, they have changed a lot since then because they were analog back then and mine are digital, I guess. And then what he did was that he hooked them up to the computer and put them in my ears, and then he did a feedback like analysis on them. So basically I had to be very quiet, and I had to try and keep Daisy very quiet, which is why it took 2 attempts, and it was just to send some beeps through my ears, and then it would program the feedback levels accordingly so it wouldn't be too overwhelming for me. And my hearing aids are set on automatic, so whatever situation I am in, they will hopefully like adjust themselves to that situation. And that was all done. It was relatively straightforward. I got a little battery card, which is to go back to the NHS and get free batteries, which is really useful. There are, like, you can get those from hospitals or the hub itself where I was based, or, you know, there are areas local to you that you can find out where to get them from. So that's my next step. Each set of batteries should last you about 2 weeks, and your hearing aid will beep when it's running out of battery. So I probably got enough batteries for about 3 months, so it's not going to be too many trips back and forth. So if that's something that puts you off, don't let it put you off. And it also came, well, they also came with like 2 cases that, you know, you can put both in each case, but I've got like 1 case and 1 spare. And that was basically it. I got handed them, got shown how to use them, and he said, don't put them in now, don't drive home with them, and you know, you've got a little one with you, so all of the noise from traffic and having maybe like a baby crying in the car is not going to be a nice first experience for you to use them. He said that the noise would be quite artificial, and I would be aware of that, and it might take a little bit of time to adjust. So I brought them home, got home, and then got in, saw my mum who had Bill, and he was off school at the time because he wasn't very well, and she was like, go on then, you know, show me them, what they like, put them in. And I put them in, and I have to say at that moment I was extremely overwhelmed. I hadn't really thought about it, but the telly was on, the kids were fussing like they hadn't seen each other for a while. Bill wanted to chat to me as well, Daisy was being her general noisy self, and my mum was talking to me. And then all of a sudden as well, there were a lot of noises that I hadn't experienced for quite a while all coming in as well. So I could hear like buzzes of machines, I could hear traffic, I could hear like all of these funny noises that I wasn't used to. And I have to say that I almost felt like I was having a bit of a sensory overload. I didn't like that at all. So once my mum was leaving, I went out to help her carry some things to her car, and I stopped on the driveway and my mouth was wide open. I was like, what is that? What, Mum, what is that noise? What is that? And I realised, bearing in mind that we live on a very quiet little street, that it was traffic from like roads away. And I could hear it like I can hear it, you know, when you're in a car and you can hear the traffic going past you. It was incredible for me, and also a bit annoying because prior to that my road had been super quiet to me, and now it's like it's still quiet, but I just couldn't believe that I could hear it at all. So for the rest of the day I kept them in, and I really tried to persevere because I wanted to adjust. I did have a few moments where I got a little bit upset because I could hear different tones and intonations and like little clips in Bill's voice, and Daisy's cry was much harsher, and I found myself getting a little bit overwhelmed at times. And it was only really when Mark came home that I felt the most emotional, because I was like, it's really weird because I don't know how to explain it, because Mark loves me regardless. Mark encouraged me more than anybody to get some hearing aids, and I was nervous to present myself and be like, oh, I've got them, like, and I found that hard, and I don't know why. And another thing that I found a bit difficult is that I am not a nasty or unkind person whatsoever, and I don't treat people differently if they need aids or if they have disabilities or different needs. That is not me at all. But for some reason I am being harder on myself, and I find that quite fascinating. And I think that's just, it takes time, doesn't it, to admit that something's different, I think. So one thing I did with Mark was, you know, he was curious to see what they would look like, so I took them out and showed him, and he was like, what's it like? And I said, tell you what, put them in. And he was able to experience it, and he didn't like it. And I think it was at that moment that he understood, like, you know, how big a deal it was, because the noise is slightly more artificial. It's a bit like hearing yourself perhaps on tape, and it's hard as well because you think, oh, is that my real voice, or is it just because I'm hearing through a hearing aid? Is this what other people hear, or is this just what the aid is giving me? But I have to say, like, you know, insecurities aside and adjustments aside, it's really not as bad as it seems. Yes, I do feel a little bit anxious going out in public, and yes, I am adjusting. I've been told that it can take one person said to me that it could take a few weeks, and another person said in some cases it could take up to a year for my ears and my brain to adjust to accepting this noise. The noises sometimes, I would say, all come at once, and I'm not tuning into them like I would in a natural situation. But other than that, you know, it is better. I haven't had to really ask anybody to repeat themselves at all. And I was doing my nails last night, and I was sat over on our desk, and Mark was watching telly, he was watching some programme, and I honestly felt like I was watching it because I could hear it, every single word, and I couldn't even see the telly from where I was sat. Whereas normally if I do that sort of thing, or I'm working in the corner, I can just zone out. I know that there's telly on, but I barely pick up anything. So it was very, very interesting, and I am still adjusting. I am, you know, trying to get my head around it all, and, you know, remembering to put them in. I almost got in the shower this morning with them in, which would have been a nightmare, like going back, like, yeah, I've had them a day and I've already broke them. But I will get there. I am taking them out at night, and I'm just like opening the flap where the batteries are, just so they don't run out of battery or anything like that. Just, I might as well do that rather than just turn them off. And you know, I will get there, and I just wanted to do this video as an update. So if you are getting hearing aids, then you know what to expect in those first 24 hours. I'm not saying this is for definite, because every single person is different, but at least you know. So I hope that was helpful, and if you do have any questions or anything like that, then like do leave them below and I'll do my best to answer them. And also a huge thank you to all of you. Maybe, you know, you've said something on Instagram or my Facebook page or on here. I just want to say thank you, because you know, the support that you give me is what a lot of people who go through things like this dream of. So you know, I think that you've got a lot of lucky people around you. They're like spending time with you as people, and they've got you in their lives because you're all so supportive, and it's just reminded me to make sure I keep giving that support to other people too. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'm gonna go, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.